Okay, let me talk resources for a second, Jill. So I was at a speaking thing. I got asked to. I don't get asked these very often. Maybe a couple times a year I'll do something like this. But I was at one last year, and I'm in the basement of this church in Tennessee. And someone says, "Well, how do you come up with the resources to do this?" And because not everybody has $10,000 in their pocket, which I'm very well aware of. As much as that was a gamble for me and a risk, like I'm aware of that. But the person asked me that question in the basement of this church, and it was insane because I'm in the basement of a church that is so unbelievably wealthy and ornate in terms of land, untapped capital in terms of its people and everything else. I just thought that is a ridiculous question. I think the vast majority of our churches have unbelievable amounts of resources at their disposal. There is one church, one Episcopal church in New York City, to give you an example of this, that has a $6 billion endowment in this country. We're the biggest property owner in the United States, churches are. It's crazy. We do not suffer from a lack of resources. A friend of mine named Diamond that I met is from Indianapolis, who grew up in a very poor Black community where his church was kind of centered, was sent out into his neighborhood. And one of the things he told me, he said, "You know what?" He said, "In my community, a lot of people don't talk about the resources they have." He's like, "But they're there. And they'll keep them hidden. Certain gifts or talents that they have in a neighborhood, even money that they have." I think what we actually suffer from is a scarcity of imagination and will. And if we were willing to risk, part of the reason that people joined me, not only with their time and their energy and their money, was because they saw me risking for the sake of the gospel. And that risk was compelling to them to perhaps risk some of their time and their talent and their treasure as well. And risk is compelling. So I had to take a risk first for others to dip their toes in the water. And when I did that, I discovered that my community had even more resources than I realized. I didn't know that my denomination had some resources and funding that I actually went and looked for that were there and available to them. And there's a huge set of resources, and this is what social enterprise is partially based around, other than people just giving to you or grants or tithing to the church. We have what's called the wallet economy. Every day in this country, there are trillions of dollars of transactions going on, and we just haven't figured out how to take the most compelling story in human history, right? That's how I view my story, the gospel. And we haven't figured out how to translate that into something so meaningful that people would not be stopped to give of themselves and their money and everything else they have to go and do it. And once you do that, people will fall all over themselves to lay their life down for something. And that is at the very center of the gospel. You show me what's worth dying for, and I will show you what's worth living for. That is at the heart of the Christian message. And I think you will find that resources are not our problem. They are at times and moments, but they're not our main problem. And in fact, they can be the one thing that kills you. I'll say this: if I had started with a lot of resources, I would have bought all the wrong equipment. I would have built the operation in all the wrong ways. Abundance would have crushed me. It was having to figure it out and problem solve with baling wire and running from my office to a job site and everything else that made the model better and more efficient and just different. And so I would just encourage you to think about that. Start small. Do you have a van at your disposal? What could you do with it? Do you have a particular talent? Maybe it's knitting. My daughter sits out here and knits with like 4 ladies from our church, and it's become like a club during COVID outdoors with a little heater on. You could turn that into something. Think about what you like and what you're good at and say, man, what would it look like for me to do ministry with this? Do you like playing Dungeons and Dragons? Why don't you go build a gaming business, or just build a club that does it? I mean, think about how God has made you and what brings you joy, and say, what could you do with students related to that? And don't think about it at scale. I never did this to scale it. I did it because I wanted to figure out how to do ministry better with students. I wanted to do ministry that gave glory to God more. And once you start getting concerned with scaling and numbers and all this stuff, then you forget about the core process, which is transforming students at God's pace, at God's timing, with great love and care. How would we do that through something we already know and brings us joy?